Been here. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today we're going to be, I'm going to be starting a 3-part series about homebrew. And just to get started, here's what we got. This is a homebrew kit from Midwest Supplies called Reindeer Spit. And pretty much what every brew kit comes with, if you're not doing all grain, will come with a liquid malt extract, or dry, or both in this case. Your hops for aroma and bittering and flavor, your specialty grains, corn sugar for bottling, brewing yeast, which I already activated, that's why it's a big puffy bag, and then a muslin bag so you can steep the grains. Now, all the instructions come on one of the little kits, tells you everything you need to do. But we're going to get this going because it is brew day, and I am spilling the brown ale grains everywhere. What I'm going to do, this is the method I found that works best. You're popular today, sweetie.
Sorry.
Okay. Now we take this over to the sink so all the dust gets, not all over my floor. Okay. Just give it a shake, get some of the dust out. You don't want to squeeze it, but you do want to get a lot of more dusty particulates out. That way it doesn't stick in your beer during the boil. Now what's in that pot right there to my left is 2 gallons of water that was heated up to 170 degrees. And then you turn the heat off and let this go into the pot like a big tea bag. This is steeping the grains to release their flavors. And as you can see already, the color of the grains is already being imparted to the water, which now would be considered wort. Now to keep it from sticking to the bottom, I just tie it off to the handle here. And because I have the heat off, just put the lid back on. Give it 30 minutes, and we will be back to continue the process. Okay, so now 30 minutes has passed. So if you look in the pot here, the color of the water has darkened significantly to match the specialty grains that came with the kit. Now what we're going to do is basically let this drip drain. While it's draining, I'm going to turn the heat back on and bring this up to a boil. Now, when it comes to a boil, we're going to have to take it off the heat, but we'll get to that when we get to that. While you're letting this drip, do not squeeze the bag, because the muslin bag does get a little weaker because it has been in the hot water for so long. It gets softer, and you don't want to squeeze out any of the grain fragments into the wort, because that'll give an off flavor during fermentation. So I'm going to let this hang for a second. Let the water come up, the wort to come up to a boil, and I'll show you the next step. The wort came back to a boil. We're going to remove it from the burner that had the heat on it. Now what we're going to do is add our liquid malt extract. We're going to start stirring as well. The reason you're moving it away from the burner entirely is because you don't want the heat coming off the burner to scorch the malt extract. Alright? And you can shove a big spoon in there. Now, you don't want to use a wooden spoon for this because I forgot baby bakes. I read why, I don't remember, but you want to use a plastic or stainless steel spoon. Plastic works best because it doesn't tarnish, doesn't remove anything. I've got a little bit on the side of the pot.
Can you like on my back? Like your other hand?
Get out of here, buddy. Daddy's doing something.
Colando Cachi.
Okay, in a second, little man, I promise. Alright, now there's a little bit left in there, but all you can do is a little bit of hot water. Even if you don't get all of it, it's okay.
Can I check
Okay.
the place?
And then we're gonna add the dry malt extract next. My son's goofy. And now we got this.
I'm gonna check the ice cream.
You're not getting any tonight, buddy. It's not gonna be ready till tomorrow. Oh, Nelly. Okay.
Tomorrow, not tomorrow.
Sorry, that's the way it is. It's gotta be refrigerated for a long time.
A long time.
That was the dry malt?
Like 6,
This is the dry malt extract. Yep. And we have to add all of it.
like 10, 5 hours. Ow!
Let me see an owl for you, little poo head.
You just pulled that.
Oh, it's gross.
So what we're going to do is mix this all up and then bring it back to a boil. There is a lot in here, and this is just 2 gallons of water to start. Alright, so I'll be back once I get all this mixed up and up to a rolling boil. Alright, as you can see, we brought the wort back up to a boil. We're going to set an hour on the timer. And we're going to do our first hops addition. As per the instructions, you want to do this slowly because this stuff likes to cause the wort to boil over. I'm using a nylon boil bag because it's easier. See how it's foaming up real good? You want to do this slowly. You just let the bag sink in. And these are the bittering hops that I'm adding. There are 2 more hops additions, but all of them are the same as the first. Pull the bag out, open it. Turn that down a little bit. And add the hops in. You keep all the hops in the bag during the boil. You don't remove anything. So the next step you'll see is chilling the wort. So we'll be back in an hour when I'm done with the boil. The 60-minute boil is done. So what you do is you turn the heat off. You can see I've got my boil bag here with all the hops. I did all 3 hop additions. I normally showed you guys and gals 1 addition, but they're all the same. It's just open the bag, put the hops in. So what we're going to do is let this drain real quick. Doesn't have to be perfect because it doesn't. This bag you can actually squeeze against the sides of the pot. I'm sure I just spilled some over the side, didn't I?
Yeah.
A little bit. Alright. Now what you're going to do, obviously, I did it right that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to cool this below 80 degrees Fahrenheit as quickly as possible. The best way to do it is called a wort chiller. Now if you ever watch the TV show Moonshiners, they have the worm where the liquor goes through the copper coil. It's kind of the opposite. Cold water goes through the coil, which would be inside of the pot, and would cool the wort down quicker. But how I'm going to do it is the way most people at home can do it, using the ice bath. Put it in the sink. While the pot containing the wort is covered, fill the sink with as much ice as you can. I'm a little short on ice, but that's okay. Then you fill the sink with water. Alright, now what you're going to do during this process, now while the sink is filling and doing this thing, they're going to go to one of the most important processes in homebrew, and it's sanitizing. Next to the beer itself, sanitizing your equipment is the most important step post-boil because you don't want to introduce any forms of bacteria to your beer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, this is my fermenting bucket. It's already been cleaned. It hasn't been sanitized. It's got a thermometer on the side here. You're going to take some sanitizer. It could be powdered sanitizer, liquid sanitizer. This isn't a brand placement, I use Star San. It's recommended, liquid sanitizer. does the job. I already mixed them up in a 1 gallon pitcher, and inside the pitcher I have my airlock and my whisk I plan on using for aeration once the beer is done. I'm going to take some of the sanitizer and pour it into the fermenting bucket. Chelsea, you're going to be a little brewmaster too? You're going to seal the bucket up and just swirl the fermenting bucket around. You want it to coat inside there. Alright? You're going to hear a term used a lot if you look at other YouTube videos. Do not fear the foam. The foam, if there's any foam left in the bucket when you pour your wort into here, it's not going to affect it. So, that's all shaken up. I'm going to let that sit, and then I'll dump it in a little while. But once this wort gets cooled down, we'll move on to the next step in the beer making process, and I'm going to show you how to finish off brew day. The wort, it's not beer yet, has cooled down below 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The way you check that is with a sanitized thermometer. Remember, I told you, anything post-boil, sanitized. You can stick whatever you want to mix up the beer while it's boiling because it'll kill the bacteria. But after that, you need to use a chemical-based sanitizer. So we got the pot out of the sink, all the ice melted away. Let that drain. What we're going to do, because we use that nylon bag, we don't have to strain this. If you don't have a nylon brew bag like the one hanging right there, it's stained from the beer now, you're going to have to strain it. Pour the wort into your fermenter. This is the primary fermentation. See, even after I took it off the heat, it's still scorched a little bit, but that's okay because it's not bad. Now what you're going to do, remember the pitcher I had the sanitizer in? You can use a sanitized pitcher, or if you can fit the bucket in your sink, do it that way. We're going to fill up the fermenter to the brew volume, which is 5 gallons. So I'm going to fill this up, and then I'll take you to the next step. We got the bucket full up to capacity. I try not to say, all right, we're there, but whatever. We got the fermenter filled up to 5 gallons, like it says. It's right there on the side. There's a built-in little chart graph, and then of course I got my thermometer, which is very important when it comes to fermenting. I'm going to take a wire whisk that I did sanitize. That's sitting in the sanitizer right now. So is the yeast. It's really puffy now because, like I said in the beginning of the video, I activated the yeast. This is a liquid yeast, but you can also get dry yeast that doesn't do this. I'll let that sit in the sanitizer to kill any bacteria. Now what you're going to do is basically, the whole point of this is to aerate the wort, import oxygen. Now you can buy from Midwest Supplies, if I'm not mistaken, or a lot of other homebrew sites, an oxygen wand. It basically uses a stainless steel version of one of those aerating stones that you can use in an aquarium. But instead of whisking for 5 to 10 minutes, you stick this wand into the wort and blow pure oxygen through the stone. But it builds up her body strength, so I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll be back in a few minutes once I churn this up. Alright, I said it. I'm done aerating the wort. Now this is the part of the process where, let's say you want to do this with your children, they can help you all the way up until this part, legally. The second you add yeast to the wort, it becomes beer. Everything else is just wort. Right? So here we got the liquid yeast. You're going to pitch the yeast in, which just means pour. I'm using a liquid yeast. I'm going to give it a little stir just to incorporate it. You can see it's really frothy. That's from the aeration. Shoot it all all of it, okay? Now what we're going to do is take the lid. Alright, now the real important part is taking your airlock. I'll bring it to the camera so you guys can see it. This is the airlock. Okay, you got max lines on both sides of the airlock. You fill it with sanitizer, that way if by chance some bacteria gets sucked in through the top, it gets killed by the sanitizer. And what you're going to do is put the cap on the airlock, put it in the bung. Yes, it's called a bung. Bung whore. And you're going to put this in a dark place, and the beer needs to maintain a temperature of, 65, I had to look it up, 65 to 72 degrees. So if you have a cold basement, don't put it in your basement. Right now the wort is sitting at 60 degrees, right? That's because it's winter, water coming through the tap is a lot colder. I'm going to put this more than likely in a closet. Upstairs in my house it sits around 68 to 72 degrees during the winter. So I'm going to give this 2 weeks to do primary fermentation, and then we're going to transfer it for secondary fermentation. So I will see you in 2 weeks, and thanks for watching.